home, the average price of gas is now above $4 in every single state. And just 5 months ahead of the midterms, new Fox polling shows 58% of respondents say the cost of living is their top economic worry. That's up 8 points from February. And 71% disapprove of the president's performance on the economy.
There was a time when Trump would find refuge in a Fox News poll, but now it's just some shockingly bad news.
On consumer sentiment, what do we have, Madison?
Bad number. The number is 48.2 for May. That is a record low. It was expected to slip down to 49.5, but 48.2. We also have some news on inflation, 4.5% increase over the year in inflation. You know, when you look at this number, 48.2, this is the third straight decline and the second record low in a row.
Inflation has risen to its highest point in 3 years, 3.8%. If you remember, that's what Trump ran on. He ran on an economic agenda and somehow convinced people to vote for him as a result. Well, they're sorry they did, and the Fox News poll is devastating for Trump. Let's talk about the gas prices. Trump goes out and says how the gas prices aren't that high and lies about how much the gas is. Well, the American people know because they're the ones who actually pump their own cars. And according to this new poll, 96% of Americans, I can think of almost no other issue, do 96% of Americans agree on something, but 96% of Americans believe that the gas prices are a problem, and 91% of it attribute it to the Iran war. The significance of that, of course, is because everybody knows that Trump is the one who started this war. It's not something like the pandemic that he can blame on somebody else, or not even on a war that he inherited from somebody else. No, he started it in June and then stopped it saying it was a success, and then started it again after Netanyahu went on Fox News and told the American people how much we needed to do this. Yes, Americans in general, even Republicans, are upset about this war of choice. And 91% are attributing the rising gas prices to this war that Trump started. Now, what does Trump have to say about the rising prices of Americans? Well, he says he doesn't think about Americans' finances at all. Actually, those words left his mouth.
When I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about American financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing.
You look at the latest Fox polls about the concern about Iran getting a nuclear bomb. That has dropped significantly from June of 25 to now. It's still 56-44. But the U.S. military against Iran predicting when it's going to be over. Many people are saying months now, 38%, as they look at the possibilities of this dragging on.
Yeah, those numbers are sort of eye-popping, right? Over a third think it's going to last months, and another third thinks it's going to last over a year. And this is the problem. President Trump was finding out it's easy to get into wars, hard to get out of wars. And they also, strategically, when they started this thing by saying, well, we're just going to take this little detour, and it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks. They sort of set expectations there. And now you can see the president, his argument is, well, look at all these other wars. Vietnam lasted 19 years. We've only been at this, 3 months. But the clock is ticking, and that argument is, according to all the data, including the latest Fox poll, is failing among the American people, particularly on the issue of the inflation economy. And Harold mentioned it, gas prices. I paid $5.30 to fill up my car the other day. I'm feeling it every single day, and his numbers on inflation are as low as I've ever seen for any president.
That was a Chicago gas station, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay, just checking.
What kind of car?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, hopefully it was a big SUV.
According to the Fox News poll, only 39% of Americans approve of Trump. Now, Nixon resigned in his second term when he had an approval rating of about 37%. I don't know if Trump has not been shown these numbers because instead of trying to work hard to the American people, he's instead created a January 6th insurrection slush fund that he tries to say is a sham settlement for his sham lawsuit because There's no congressional approval for this. He's trying to get $1 billion for his ballroom, which is such a bad political move that even the GOP doesn't want to go through it. He's obsessed with the color of a reflecting pool instead of doing the hard work for the American people. Perhaps one of the pieces of hard work they can do is fix the healthcare premiums. If you remember, they allowed the Obamacare credit that was going to help offset the cost of healthcare premiums under Obamacare expire December 31st. There's been zero proposal to try to fix that for the American people. Instead, he's started a war, diverting, talking about indicting former leader of Cuba, instead of actually trying to help the price of living for American people, specifically healthcare costs. So many Americans actually chose not to pay for healthcare because it would have cost thousands of dollars more. Instead, when they get diagnosed with cancer or have a heart attack, they're not going to have any health insurance. Perhaps this is just a small part of why Americans are very worried about the economy. So much so that 71% are disapproving of Trump's handling of the economy. 71% of Americans. That has actually been driven by a 7% increase by Republicans, showing even Republicans who are getting their news straight from Fox are still unhappy, increasingly unhappy with how Trump is handling the economy.
The idea of the Trump administration running the intervention into fraud is so utterly laughable when you look at how much they are profiting off of their positions and off of the American people. Trump literally did say, I don't think about the financial situation. I don't think about anybody. That will be in all of the ads.
But wait a minute, let's give some context to that, because he was asked about
saying about the war, right?
And then he said it's making sure they don't have a nuclear weapon.
Right. And then people heard that because they don't like this war. They don't think he's listening to them. They don't think he cares about their cost of living. So they heard the part where he says they can't have a nuclear weapon. And also, I don't care how it's hitting you at home. I don't care about your gas prices. I don't care about how much you're paying for groceries.
That's not what he said. I think context.
That's not what he said.
It is what is underneath.
It's what you heard.
I don't think.
It's what you heard. It's not what he said.
You have to.
The poll is flashing red warning sign for Trump because he's slipping among some of his core constituents, including white men. Specifically, his popularity decreased by 6 points among rural white voters and -5 points from white men without a degree. And the Latino vote, who he did increase the share of the voting bloc in 2024. Well, they are unhappy with him. And this is a red warning sign for the redistricting in Texas in particular, because as we know, when they redistricted there, they just assumed the Latino voter who voted for Trump in 2024 would now be a reliable Republican voter. Well, it turns out of the Latino vote for Trump, in the beginning of his term, those that voted for him had him approval rate. He had an approval rating among that group of 93%. Well, that has dropped to 66%. So those voters that they had counted on to deliver red districts in Texas may not be voting for Trump or Trump-endorsed candidates down the tickets, because that is a steep decline in his approval to go from 93% to 66%.
And you can see it right here. I mean, this just tells the story, right? The lowest net approval ratings ever for the president of the United States. That is approval minus disapproval. The lowest previous record, according to the ABC News Washington Post poll, was Trump was 24 points underwater. That was all the way back in term number one. My beard at that particular point did not have any gray in it like it does today. But guess what? As my beard has turned to gray, Trump's numbers have fallen to a new record low, according to the Washington Post ABC News poll. He is now 25 points underwater on the net approval rating. That is the lowest ever that he has ever been at. And so it's not much of a surprise to me that the CNN poll of polls is reflecting that with the record high disapproval rating.
Well, are there also, Harry, as you dig into this, are there groups that have normally been supportive of President Trump who are now beginning to break and break significantly?
Now you're asking the questions, Erica Hill. Now you're asking the questions that matter. What is driving this? What is driving this bus into the swamp for the president of the United States? Well, how about this? How about GOP-leaning independents? That is, independents who are normally a part of the president's coalition, independents who say when they're pushed that they lean towards the Republican Party. You know, back in the 2024 election versus Kamala Harris, look at this. Donald Trump got 91% of that vote. That's near uniformity right there. Very close to 100%. 91% of that vote back in the 2024 election. Jump forward, what is it, a year and a half now? Look at where he is on the job approval rating when you average the ABC News Washington Post poll along with the Pew Research Center poll that came out late last week. He is now at just a 53% job approval rating.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.